Greetings and welcome to this episode of the Heal and Restore podcast with my goofy wife here, Kathy.
We've been doing some tests on our new
New
microphones here.
microphone. So I hope this is a little better sounding. We feel it's going to be. There might be a few bugs we got to work out,
Yeah, that's
but
okay. You'll
that's okay.
have fun bugging with us.
Yeah, you can bug us all you want. We're used to it. So, but anyways, here we are in February.
Yeah,
Um, Hope everybody had a great Valentine's Day,
yeah. It's
right?
the day of
The
love.
day of love. But like I said last week, every day should be a day of love.
Right.
That's not
We'll work
Valentine's.
at that.
Yeah, I think it's important,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
so we're gonna fall back, or I'm gonna fall back. We're gonna switch back to some recovery questions
Questions.
and answers that we've gotten, and we'll probably finish out the month with this.
Yeah.
Well, actually, probably finish out the month and start March with it.
Yeah, we
Well,
still
actually,
got,
this is finishing out the month. What am I talking about, for goodness
we're
sake?
already at the end of the month of
I
February. It's
can't
a short
believe it.
month. I think that's why it goes by
That's
so
why I'm so
fast.
whacked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was because your birthday was this month.
just don't tell everybody.
Oh,
They might send me presents.
you are.
But in lieu of presents, you can send a donation to the Heal and Restore Counseling LLC.
Oh, that would be a nice
That would be
present,
a
wouldn't
nice
it?
present, wouldn't it? Yeah.
So today we're going to answer a question that came from our good friends, Albert and Lauren. And the question is, how do you stop overthinking?
Ooh, good question.
How do you stop those negative thoughts, those what ifs, and the over processed thoughts, etc.? So there's a lot to unpack here. So this is a good one. And like everything we do, we want you to tune in, lean in, press in, listen, take what you want, and leave the rest.
Open-minded and willingness.
Yeah,
That's
that's
all
good.
it's going to take, right?
Yep.
And one thing my mentor told me, maybe I'm a little ahead, but that's okay on this one. Okay. One thing my mentor told me when I said, well, what if this?
Yeah,
He said, Randy, what if a nuclear bomb drops on us today?
right.
Then all those what ifs mean nothing.
Well, we've got a practical tip for those what
I
ifs
think we
too.
do today.
So
We
we're
got a
going to
lot of
cover
them in here
that. But
today. Yeah.
let's get started here.
Okay.
So stopping overthinking the negative thoughts and the cycle of what ifs, it will be and can be challenging. But
Yep.
there's several strategies that we want to offer you today that will help you to break those patterns. It'll give you an opportunity to foster a calmer and more present mindset. And that's what we all seek, is just that calm, present mindset. A lot of people that struggle with anxiety experience a lot of these things. So we
Yes, I
want to
do.
give you an opportunity to just put some new things in action if that is you. And we talk about anxiety being situational anxiety and some diagnosed anxiety, but these tips can help no matter which
No
anxiety
matter which way you're
you're
going. Yeah.
struggling with.
Yeah.
So, Rennie, why don't you start off? What is the very first tip we can offer them on this?
Yeah. Acknowledge and label the thought.
That sounds good.
Okay. And I think the first thing we can ask ourselves with that is it true or is it absolutely true?
Right. But what we've got to do is in order to recognize that, we have to recognize the fact that number one, we are overthinking. We have
Mm-hmm.
to recognize the thought. We can't just throw it out there, but we have to acknowledge it. We have to identify the thought pattern. Where is the negative, anxious, over hypothetical? Where is it coming from? And we have to acknowledge that we're experiencing it, and it's okay to feel uncertain about it.
Those negative thoughts, who told you those things?
Mm-hmm.
Right. A lot of people in the world of Christianity will say, well, the devil. Well, yeah, he's partly responsible.
But he only knows our past.
He only knows our past. Therefore, we have to dig deep.
Yeah, it's something in our past. So
Yes.
in order to acknowledge it, we also have to label it. And
Yeah.
so sometimes labeling it as just a thought, I mean, we don't have to give much more to it
Yeah.
other than just a thought.
Yeah.
It can distance ourselves from it. And it'll help remind ourselves that not every thought is a reflection of reality or truth. And that's where the is it true can come in.
Yeah. It's like we say, just because we think something, we don't have to say it. Just because we think something doesn't mean that it's true. And it might be true
Mm-hmm.
in our mind because of things that have been told to us or happened in our past.
Right.
So now we're going to talk about this too. We're going to reframe some things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's so just, starting off with recognizing,
Hmm.
acknowledging it, and label it.
First
It's very
thing.
simple. Then once we get to that, there's some other tips we can do in the process. And the second one would be practice
Ooh, that's a
mindfulness.
good one.
And this is about staying present in the moment. I know you're going
Hmm.
to elaborate on this a little more, but overthinking often occurs when our minds drift from past to future. So we're not staying present. So mindfulness practices like focusing on your breath, grounding yourself with
Hmm.
sensory experiencing. And what we mean by that is like notice what you see, notice what you hear. Notice what you're touching. How do your clothes feel when you touch them? Things like that. They're going to guide the mindfulness exercise so that you can refocus and come back to the present.
Hmm.
So taking the time to really notice those things. And then another one I've heard about, I've never practiced it, but I guess I don't think about it often enough, but it's that mindful breathing. So taking deep breath exercises. There's a technique called the 4-7-8
Hmm.
technique. So what you do is you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and then exhale for 8. And what it'll do is it'll help calm your nervous system and it'll help bring that anxiety down.
On that subject, the other thing I'm finding out right now is a thing called 9D breath work. And I have an example of it that I've been using. And I would suggest you look into that. It's really
Is
powerful.
that 9D as in David? Is that?
Nine, yes, 9D is, they got that 8D music out now. Well,
Oh
this
yeah,
is 9D and it's powerful stuff. I
9D
listen to
breathing.
the examples. It's like, wow, because you got to have headphones for it, but it's powerful.
Yeah.
But
Staying in the present. I know
yeah,
that you have something for that one.
yeah. So yeah, it's funny because if you think about it, the world would be a lot better place if people were mindful of what they're doing when they're driving. For
What we're
example,
doing right now.
right now, right? When we're driving, you think about this. Oftentimes, we leave our home, we got this big agenda on our mind. Maybe we've had a disagreement with our spouse or our kids, and we're thinking about that process, and therefore we're not being mindful of the moment that we're living at
Mhm.
this time and place, right? So here's kind of what happens. We're living in today by bringing, well, actually, we have past trauma, we have past mistakes, and past different issues,
Which
right?
create some of this anxiety and these negative
Exactly.
thoughts. Yep.
And these three are usually unresolved issues in a lot of people's
Mhm.
lives. So what are we doing? We're bringing that into our life today. We're living as though those things are actually happening
Happening.
today.
Yeah.
But worse than that, we're projecting it into the future. We're not living in the moment at all because we got all this other garbage in our life pouring on top of us.
Yeah.
And so this is probably for me, it was the hardest thing I had to do was learning how to live in the now. And it took me probably a good solid year of constant work to learn how to do that.
It's not a natural process
No, no,
sometimes.
it's yes. And so that's why I say that we talk about uh, situational anxiety,
Mhm.
right? Which is there's general anxiety disorder. I'm not going to mess with that. But the situational, how many times do we create our own anxiety? Because we're not being mindful, we're not living in the now.
Mhm.
So it's just becoming what's the facts of today,
Right.
right? I'm safe today. I'm grounded,
Mhm.
right? I have a roof over my head. I have food on my table. I got somebody in my life. Might just be one person. That might be the only person you need
Yeah.
that loves me.
Yeah.
So you want to come back to what's life like today? What is it really like today? Peel away all the negative stuff that you got going on.
Yeah. No, that's good. And then our next tip that I like too, and this is something that was really good, is challenging your negative thoughts. So we want
Hmm.
to reframe the thought. So what we do and how we can go there is when you catch yourself thinking negatively or imagining worst case scenarios,
Hmm.
consciously challenge the thoughts.
Hmm.
And how do we do that? We have to ask ourselves, is there evidence supporting the
Yeah.
thought? Or if you're assuming something that's not based on facts. So you have to ask yourself, this is where the is this
Yeah.
true? Is it
Hmm.
absolutely true questions come into place? Because a lot of times we're not in reality. And so we want to get back to reality. So we reframe the thoughts to help us get there.
See, that goes back to what I just talked about,
Hmm.
right? Because we're basing everything on our past
Right.
mistakes, issues, unresolved traumas, and so we're forecasting that into our life today, thus into so that. See how much that plays into
Yeah.
your thought pattern?
Yeah. Another way you can challenge your negative thoughts is with cognitive reframing.
Hmm.
And this was really powerful. I mean, it seems so common sense, but I don't think a lot of people realize this. And so what we have to do is we have to shift our perspective by rephrasing the thought. So here'd be an example. You might think, well, what if something goes wrong? So instead of that, change it to, what if everything goes well? Or what if I learned something valuable from this experience? I think we grow up a lot of times our past experiences and traumas keep us stuck in this negative mindset. And all we have to do is the cognitive reframing by asking ourselves a question in a more positive way.
I've said this, and I tell all our clients this, this, that everything we go through in life,
Hmm.
good, bad, or indifferent, is a lesson. So it's like, what am I going to take away from this situation that
Yeah.
maybe wasn't so unpleasant? There's a lesson in there for you.
What
You've
did I learn
just
about me?
what
What
I
did I learn
learned
about others?
exactly. And every person that we run across, whether it's a bum crossing the street in front of us with a shopping cart for what, 2 or 3 seconds,
Mhm.
or whether it is whatever.
A
Doesn't matter.
family
A
member.
family member, it could be a
Yours.
moment, a day, an hour, it could be a year. That person is a teacher.
Mhm. That's
What
good.
are you going to, that bum crossing across the street? I might have been thinking about, I'm tired of living the way I'm living. And then I might see somebody like that walk across the street in front of me. It's like, I got a pretty good life.
Yeah, that's good.
So treat everything like that.
Yeah.
Everything that happens to us is a lesson, and every person that crosses our path is a teacher.
And if you use those two thoughts, it will help reframe that cognitive thinking and give you an
Mhm.
opportunity to ask yourself a new question.
And here's the thing, it's going to take time, and you can't just do it once. Well, it didn't work, Randy.
Nope.
No, you got to be
It's a
persistent.
repetitive.
You got to
Yeah.
keep doing. You got to
Yeah.
change. It takes 21 days to change a thought,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's good.
So,
I like this next one. When I did the research on this question and started coming up with stuff, this is something I had never thought about. And it's set time limits for your worrying.
yeah,
And I love
that's
this.
pretty good. Yeah,
So,
I never
schedule,
thought about that
no,
one.
no, schedule worry time. So set aside a specific time during the day. Maybe it might be 15, 20 minutes, and focus on your worries or your overthinking only during that time. It gives yourself an opportunity to think about all the what ifs.
Yeah.
And once it's over, it's over. And you consciously shift your mind back to something else, whether you're in a work environment, home environment, church environment, driving in the car. Give yourself that worry time, but you can't have it any longer than that.
And so here's how you can do that. A worrisome thought comes up. So, not now. You go on the back burner. I'm not going to ignore you. At 12 o'clock today, you and I are going to sit down.
Have a conversation.
You and your thoughts are going to have a
Yeah,
conversation about all this stuff. 15, 20 minutes. Put it on the back burner for that special time. You don't have to think about it right
right.
at that point in time.
Now, I will add to that though, if you are having those thoughts and that time is either gone for the day, your set aside worry time is gone, practice distraction. If you find yourself spiraling or intentionally, redirect your thoughts and your mind to an activity that requires your full attention. Maybe it's doing a hobby. For me, sometimes I like to just go paint. Maybe it's a task at hand. Maybe you're at work and you have to, engage in a
Hmm.
conversation with
Hmm.
somebody. Practice distraction. If you're outside your worry time that you're giving yourself, you can't add another worry time. Practice distraction.
And if we're practicing, like I was out back recently working on our patio and putting some more pavers in there. If I'm worrying about everything else in my life, I can't be mindful
Hmm.
and pay attention and cognitive of what I'm doing that moment.
Right.
If I'm out on a bicycle ride on the highway and I'm not being mindful and present on my bike at
Mhm.
that's when I'm going to get hurt,
Right.
right? So practice those things that you can be mindful on and don't let anything distract you from help That'll help bring yourself back to the now.
Right.
I'm pedaling my bike right now. Matter of fact, real short story. When I was riding across America, you're constantly going up one hill, then down another, up a hill, down another. And I was in New Mexico and I got so tired of God, another hill. And so I told myself, I says, Randy, start counting. And I had a cadence counter on my computer. Use that cadence counter and remember that every turn of the crank was one survivor you were having a voice for, one survivor that you were helping. And that switched my whole focus to I'm doing this for a purpose. I don't care how hard it is. And if I give up, I'm not giving up on myself. I'm giving up to all the millions of
Yeah,
people that don't have a
yeah, and
voice.
that's practicing distraction.
That's exactly.
Your focus was
Mhm.
causing you to get into a negative mindset.
Yeah,
So you turned it into something positive.
absolutely.
And that's actually ties into our next, I love how this works. It ties into our next tip is focus on solutions, not problems.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
you were feeling like you were struggling, so you focused on a solution. So you took what is our next tip is action-oriented thinking.
Yes.
Instead of dwelling on the hypothetical scenarios, or in your case, the hills, you
Yeah.
focused on what you could control.
All right.
And so what you were able to control, ask yourself, what practical steps can I take in my current situation to improve things or ease the worries? So there that you were action oriented on that one. And then the other thing too that is just to break things down. Don't make things so big. Large issues feel overwhelming. Let's just call it what it is. So, and then they lead to overthinking. So breaking down the problem into smaller, more manageable tasks that helps you to focus and stay one step at a time.
The other thing that I would do that helped me a lot when I was, and you can do this if you're working on the gym, you can do this if you're running on your bike. What I used to do, that's my time when I started talking to God.
Right.
I literally have conversations with God while I was riding. And so that would calm me down. Or I would listen to a really good positive podcast or
Mhm.
message that I could really relate to, and it would take me out of myself, bring me into the moment of, I want to say out of myself from the past, bring me into the moment now,
Right. Or your
right?
focus.
Your focus. Listen to either have a talk with God or listen to something positive.
Yeah, no, that's good. And this next one, this is a tip that we
Hmm.
can't even speak enough on. And a lot of people struggle in this, but once you implement this practice, it is a lifesaver. And that's journaling. Write it down. If, journaling can help put your
Hmm.
thoughts in your head into paper. And then once you have them on paper, you can see what's real and what's not real. And so a lot of times writing down those worries and negative thoughts or the what ifs and then review them. That's how you can tell,
Yeah.
it gives you a more objective view of your thoughts, and it often reveals what's real and what's not.
And the key to journaling, the journaling is for you.
Yeah.
It does what you want to do. I don't know how to draw. I don't know what to write. If it comes to your mind, write it down. Don't edit it. Nobody's going to read it.
Yeah.
Here's our belief. God knows what you're thinking. So you're not going to be punished by him.
Mm-mm.
Put it on paper, therefore it's no longer in your head.
Yeah.
I have got countless journals of my early time in recovery. You know that. You
Yeah.
say I can't find them. Well, there's so many of them. So what's happened over time is now, and just recently, I've shifted to I got the Max Lucado 1 year Bible study, and there's a lot of writing in there that I have to do.
Hmm.
So that's my journaling.
That's your journal time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
And there's other things that can help you journal and prompt. My devotional,
Hmm.
the 30-day devotional of the wholeness, has got a life-focused devotion, 30 of them. Starts with a prayer that relates to the devotion. It's got a prayer at the end. It's got a scripture at the beginning, a scripture at the end, prayer at the end, and then it's got 3 contemplative questions you can answer based on what you've learned in that
That could be your
devotional.
journaling.
That could be your journaling.
Yeah.
There's always a way that you can journal. Just being open-minded and willing to do it.
Yeah. And part of the journaling that I love is the practicing of gratitude.
But one more thing, because
Mhm.
when we're coming to journaling, right, and acceptance and perfection, right, where are you at?
I'm right here.
Oh my goodness gracious.
That's why I said practicing Gratitude.
But well, go back to the journaling just for a minute, right?
You're looking at your notes because
Go ahead and finish. I'm sorry,
okay, you
my
got
bad.
this.
I'm one
This guy
question
gets
ahead.
ahead of himself. You know, we lay out this beautiful format to be able to implement a podcast.
And then I write notes what things that I want to say. And
Right. We review it, but he still gets excited.
yeah, what can I say?
So again, as I was saying, part of journaling is practicing
Absolutely,
gratitude. So
100%.
writing down things that you're grateful for or positive outcomes you've had in the past. This is where reflective self-reflection comes in. All of those things can give you an opportunity to focus on the gratitude, and that alone will shift your mindset away from any negative or overthinking or what ifs or worry or doubt. So, attitude of gratitude changes the perspective of all things.
And no matter where we're at in life, we're always going to find at least one thing to
Yeah.
be extremely grateful for. And what we like to suggest is that put a journal by your bed. It might be
Hmm.
a gratitude journal. But when you wake up in the morning, write down 5 things that you're grateful for. I'm sure you can
Bye
find
bye.
5 things,
Yeah.
even if it's the same thing every day, right? And then what you can do as you get used to that journaling part, take one of those 5 things and write out, why am I grateful for this?
Hmm.
Right? I guarantee you, again,
It could be your house. And say
yeah,
you're having a house, having a home,
a roof over your
a roof
head.
over your head. So
You're
then why am I grateful for my roof over
right,
my head?
exactly.
And that is a great prompting question to journal
Absolutely.
out things. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's
Right.
good.
And I have something else, but I
Yeah, see, because you got ahead of yourself.
no, no, no. You interrupted me halfway through my thought.
Okay, but that's okay. It was a good thought.
No, it was a really good thought
Yeah.
about journaling.
It'll come back.
Oh, I know, like everything else, right? It's not going to might not happen the first time,
Yeah.
but I promise you, right? Over and over again, get in habit, and you will usually to do it within 5 days, you'll
Mm.
have a big attitude shift
Yeah.
about happiness.
Makes a huge
It makes a
difference.
huge, it
Yeah.
really does.
And then once you get to a place where your gratitude is just flowing, now we can look at self-compassion and patience. They kind of all are going to tie together. So being kind to yourself, overthinking, it often involves a lot of self-criticism, and that just
Hmm.
doesn't feel good. So practice self-compassion by being gentle with yourself when you catch yourself overthinking. And instead of saying things like, I shouldn't be thinking this way, or here I go again, say things like, it's okay to have these thoughts, but I can let them go. And you might have to say that over and over again, but it's
And
okay to have these thoughts and I can let them go.
here's a really good way to learn to let them go. You
Okay.
ready?
Hmm.
So you're going to sit down kind of in a meditative state. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to see yourself sitting in front of a river or a broad stream, not a big river, not a small stream, in between, right? And as the thoughts come down, picture that you see a log all of a sudden entering your brain from one side, right? Here comes that log. Oh, man, I feel really anxious right now. Put the name anxiety on that log,
Good.
right? And then watch that log. Don't fight it. Watch that log enter into your right side of your brain or left side, whatever it is, and watch it pass through your eyes. Don't fight it. Say, okay, there you are. I see you. I hear you. I understand you. And watch it pass through out of the left side of your brain and watch it just disappear down the river and
Mm,
let go of that anxiety
that's good.
with that log. It can be depression. It could be, unworthiness, whatever it is. Not, I don't feel loved. That's,
Sadness.
sadness,
Yeah.
whatever. Watch that. Don't fight it. I think the tendency is we want to fight,
The thoughts.
especially when we're in a meditation state. We want to fight those thoughts. No, we've been fighting all of our life. Time to accept them, love them, and let them go.
That's good. I love that because as you're describing the visual, and yes, I'm sitting here next to you, it's such a beautiful, peaceful way to let things go. It
Hmm.
doesn't feel hard and it doesn't feel like it's just too much. It's beautiful. So I
Now,
love that.
I want to interject here in saying Kathy and I don't do all this perfectly. We
Mhm.
know all the tools. We've used them all in the past. They work wonderfully.
Sometimes we pick them up and
Some
sometimes we
and
don't.
sometimes we don't. It's just life,
Yeah.
you know. So just be aware of that. We're not no. perfect people at
And
doing this kind of
yeah,
stuff.
and we don't expect you all to follow
No.
this. So, this is just us being able to give away some of the tips and some of the new tips we're learning as we do some of this research on this as well.
In fact, I think what I'm probably going to start doing is putting these subjects in the blog so people
Oh,
can go back and
there you
relate to
go.
them.
That's perfect. Yeah, and then the last item under self-compassion and patience that we like to look at is accepting the imperfection.
Absolutely.
We are not perfect, and we have to realize that no one can control every outcome. So it's natural to have concerns, but perfection, unattainable. So allow yourself to accept the uncertainty and the imperfections that come with the thoughts because we have no control over them.
You need to hear this. Everything you've done in your life has been absolutely perfect. 100% perfect. You could have done one thing different and not been here, not been alive, right? Not been where you're at, right? We are who we are today, good, bad, and indifferent because of all of our past.
Our
It's brought us
experiences,
this.
yeah.
And you might think, Randy, all I got is all this garbage. And I think, Nate, there is so much good in your life. But what happens is somehow we're taught, or it just becomes because of things we were told, all we think about is a negative. We
Hmm.
might have been growing up in a negative atmosphere, right?
Right.
So we just think everything's bad. No, it's not.
Yeah.
You are who you are today because of your past. Randy, would you change anything in your life? Hmm. No. Two, one, I don't think it'll change who I am today and what's I want to know what the outcome was. But more importantly, why would I change? Because it's helped me become the man that I am today.
All of those imperfections have created you to be who you are.
Right. Am I happy with them all? Do I struggle with them sometimes? Yeah. But the reality is, it's made me the loving, kind person, compassionate person, forgiving person I am today.
Yeah.
Right? I
No.
mean, that's the bottom line. So we have to very
Em-
much
Embrace
embrace and love the dark side of
the
us.
uncertainties and the
At
imperfections. Yep.
100%. Because until we can learn to love those, we'll never love ourselves.
Yeah. No, that's really good. And then we've got just a few more here, but gosh, some of these, like this one is a new one for me too. Practicing grounding techniques. There's a thing called a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise. And so to help break the cycle of your overthinking, here's what it looks like. 5 things you can see,
Hmm.
4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And by using this method, it helps you shift your focus from the racing
Hmm.
thoughts, the doubts, the questions to the present moment. So we've talked about having to stay in the present moment, and sometimes it's not easy. Practicing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method will help get you to back to the present.
In my little short workbook, the 7 Day Challenge,
Mhm.
a lot of these mindful type meditations will help guide you through. They're 10 minutes long. They're not long.
Hmm.
They'll help you walk through this process.
That's good. But this one I think you can do just about anywhere.
Yeah,
And I'm just going to repeat this
yeah,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1 because I think it's really important,
yeah.
especially if anybody's taking notes. It's 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste.
And the important thing is do not put a name on them.
No,
Just
just
just make sure you
identify.
identify them and engulf them all into your senses.
That's good. That's good. And this one's so, so important. Oh, I'm a multitasker. So I tend to overload my brain sometimes. So we have to learn to limit information overload. We have to control how much we take in. And sometimes the overthinking stems from having too much information, especially nowadays. I mean, we've got social media, we've got news, we've got endless advice, we've got self-help books, all of these things, but limiting our exposure to the information a lot of times can just feed the anxiety. We think we're doing it to help ourselves, but it creates more anxiety, it creates confusion. So you want to be able to stick to just the trusted resources and limit the consumption of social media, news, things that trigger your overthinking. So you've got to be aware of what is triggering your overthinking, and you have to limit yourself to those things.
Here's what I want to say on all that. If those, and we have self-help books. I've got four of them, five, I don't know. We have self-help books, but too often, people read the self-help books, which are all full of a lot of good, different information. But the issue becomes is that we become like it's so
So much
overwhelmed
information.
with over information, right? So if one self-help book helped, and maybe it does for you, but why would we have to keep on expanding and learn and reading more and more and more, right? Look, when I was in recovery, I took in all the information I could get, right? And I just went through it all. I processed it all, took what I wanted and left the rest. But this becomes even more so when you're working with coaches like us,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when you come to us, we're going to ask that you limit who you speak to about your issues
Hmm.
because there's too many people out there that want to give you unsolicited advice.
Hmm.
It seems like they're helping you, but in many, 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 many ways,
It's
a
just
lot of
creating
it's
more
creating
thoughts.
more thoughts, more confusion. A lot of people are patting you on your back, saying, "Yeah, it ain't that bad. You're doing okay."
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. We're here. If you're working, whether it's Kathy and I or some other coach or therapist, and you're going to all your friends after seeing one of us and
Mhm.
seeking they might give you contradictory information, but who are they
Yeah.
to feed into you,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean,
You just have to be very mindful.
very
And when you're in
mindful
the
of that.
process
Yes,
of recovery, of
yes.
self-reflection, of healing, limit the people that you're around.
I guarantee you, you can find people out there, even in the healing field, that are going to tell you what you want to hear and
Yeah.
back to. We don't do that.
Yeah.
We love you, right? We're going to tell you the truth with love.
Right.
That's what you need to hear, maybe
Yeah.
for the first time in your life.
And part of that is setting boundaries.
Yes.
So if conversations or situations tend to spark a negative thought because you're talking with somebody that is kind of stirring things up with you, set a boundary with those people because you're going to drain your mental energy. You're
100%.
going to add more confusion, like we were talking about. So be aware and set boundaries where needed is really, really important.
And those are hard things to do. And this is where my mentor, Way Spiritual Dave, right? He said this to me. He says, Randy, you need to learn to walk away from every
Hmm.
conversation, leaving the other person's integrity intact.
Hmm. That's hard to do
No
sometimes.
matter what they said to you, no matter what they've called you, right? In my past,
Hmm. We know what you
oh,
did in your
I was
past.
bad. If you attacked me, you'd have to reach up to touch bottom by the
Right.
time I got done with
Yeah.
you. Now, that being said, you're not a doormat.
Right.
So instead, the boundary you would set, and this might be the first one you got to set,
Right.
right? You would simply say, you know what, Kathy? I will no longer allow you to talk to me in that matter. I don't allow anybody to do that. So when we both can calm down, or I'm going to bring it back, when you can calm down and we can have a conversation, adult conversation about this, I'll be glad, more
Right.
than glad to
That's
talk to
good.
you, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to allow you to demean me.
Yeah. And that's setting a boundary.
Yeah,
That's just setting a
absolutely.
boundary at
And
that point.
again, we're not real good at this
No,
all the time. We're good, but not all
we know what we're supposed
the
to
time.
do.
Yeah, just like everybody
Yeah,
else.
we know to
But
do it.
we know it works when you do that.
Yeah.
You're not so you want that way. That way that other person's
Yeah.
integrity is like you walked away going, oh
Gives you something to
yeah,
think about.
give you something to think
It
about.
does for me. I know that. So as we kind of close this down and we got just a couple left here, this one is really, really key for people who deal with anxiety, stress thinking, overthinking, the
Hmm.
what ifs. Get moving.
Yep.
Stay active. We all know physical activity is such a powerful tool, but sometimes it's hard to do. I'm one of those people, but I'll tell you, physical activity, exercising, it's such a powerful way to quiet the mind. Physical movement releases the endorphins. We've talked about
Yep.
this
Yep.
before.
Yep.
That improves mood, reduces stress. It gives us all those feel goods. And so even if it's just like a short walk, if you're or stretching, it can help shift your focus. And I know for me, I didn't do well at this, but when I did, like work, I'll just go to the work environment. My work was just constant. It was a constant 8 to 9 hours a day of talking, typing, reading, engaging in conversations, some good, some hard. But when I did choose to take a walk around the building, it always gave me an opportunity to refocus, and it gave me a mental break from all the thoughts that were going into my head. Helped bring me to a place of clarity, helped
Mhm.
slow down the overthinking, the what ifs, or I need to do this and gotta hurry here. And oh, that just sounds crazy to me right now.
Yeah, yeah, no.
But physical activity is huge in mental health.
And then again, going back to what I was talking about, when you're on your bike, that's going to give you time to
Yeah,
really focus
perfect.
on
Yeah.
yourself and mindfulness, right?
Mhm.
So, and like Kathy said at the beginning, it's hard for her to do those things. And here's the funny part. Kathy used to look at me and say, "Well, you do it so naturally, Randy."
Yeah.
I go, Kathy, you have no idea the battle I have in my head getting out of bed. And right now it's something that Kathy, and I say this respectfully to my wife because tell her almost every morning right now. I'm working with her, helping. I'm working on helping her with this. God, I have such a hard time getting out of bed in the morning, right? Because she wakes up, she's tired, blah, blah. And
Right.
again, I'm the same way. I wake up, it's like, man, do I really got to get up? But so what I've been telling Kathy is just roll out of bed, just get out of bed, come out in the living room and do your posting out there. Just roll out of bed. It's the hardest. It is. It's hard in the morning. I got to roll it. Just do it.
Yeah.
That'll start your day and you'll feel 100 times. It's easy. It'd be easy for me to just, I'm just going to sit here and sleep for a couple more hours. That lasts for 10 minutes. I got to get out of bed.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of just do it.
Yeah. Sound like the Nike commercial.
Yeah,
Just
just
do it.
do it, right? Yeah,
Just do it.
just.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to talk about under the physical activity aspect of things is a lot of people, and I've done this before, is engage in activity that affects your mind and your body. Things
Hmm.
like yoga, meditation, taking a warm bath, all of the
Ice
things that
bath,
an ice
sauna.
bath, yes. Oh, with the hot boxes, that's what I love going to. It just helps to relax your mind, and that's what we need to
Now,
do.
Kathy mentioned yoga. And for all of you religious Pharisees out there, it's okay to do yoga. It's an exercise for your body. It brings you into the moment of now.
Yeah.
And that's what God wants of us. If you're going to go into the religion of yoga, okay, that's your choice. I'm not going to say good or bad on that, right? There's one God, and that God is God, Father Yahweh. But it's okay
Yeah.
to to practice the yoga exercise. It's a mindful way to bring yourself back to the
To
now.
the present. Yeah.
I can't stress that enough. There's too many religious zealots out there that say you can't do
Yeah.
yoga.
Yeah. And then as we kind of close this up here, obviously, a lot of these things are great tips to have, but if all else fails, or even if
Yeah.
it doesn't fail, even if you need that and want that, seek the added
Hmm.
support. Because, if you find that overthinking is taking a significant toll on your mental health and your relationships, consider talking to a therapist, a counselor, a coach like ourselves, because sometimes just sharing the thoughts with someone else can give you a whole different perspective and it helps you feel supported. We have clients that come to us and it takes a while to really get them to talk, but once things about halfway through the process, they're willing to just allow themselves to
Hmm.
speak openly and they
Hmm.
walk out of here feeling so much better.
Hmm.
But talking to, a therapist, a coach, counselor, you want to build a trust with them, a relationship based on trust. Then you can really release yourself of the things you're holding on.
And another thing that we implement that really enhances our couple's recovery is we have implemented a once a month life group where we all come together
Mhm.
and it's just fellowship.
Yeah.
I might do a lesson or so, but like, for Thanksgiving, for Valentine's, we had a big dinner here with all of our couples, right? Just to have fun, to relate to each other. That way they know they're not doing this
Yeah.
by themselves. They're not alone in what
This
they're
is a
struggling with.
support, yeah, it's a support system, and
Right.
that's what's key is the individual therapy, the individual coaching is necessary, but so is group.
What's your community?
Yeah. Your community makes a
Are you still
huge
conforming to the ways of the world, or are you switching?
transforming to the renewing of your mind. And we do that through our coaching.
Yep.
So as we kind of wrap this up here, I just want to just kind of share that, stopping the overthinking is a process, like anything we do in recovery. It requires us to be practical, to practice, and to be self-aware. That self-awareness is huge when we start this journey. But by implementing these strategies that we've talked about, such as mindfulness, the reframing of our negative thoughts, focusing on the solutions, taking care of our mental and physical health, gradually, I say gradually because it doesn't happen overnight, gradually it will reduce the impact that overthinking has over
On that
us.
last thing you just said, how long have you been dealing with this stuff in your life?
Mhm.
5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years? You've got to rewind. You got to undo all that.
Yeah. So, but the key in all of this is consistency.
Consistency.
So when you begin to notice the patterns, you have to consciously redirect your thoughts, reinforce the healthier ways of thinking,
Hmm.
and over time, it will help you to break the cycle of
Exactly.
overthinking. So I work with some girls, some women that are struggling in this right now, and you're not alone. It's very common. There's men. You have some of
There's
your guys that
exactly.
also struggle with the overthinking and the mindfulness of distraction and lack of focus and thinking of things from their past that
Yeah.
they're projecting into their future. So
Which aren't happening today.
no,
That's the
so
hard part.
I really hope that this is helpful. I know for me it was because I learned some new strategies
Hmm.
as well. So we invite you to share this podcast with others. You find it helpful for you, or if you know somebody who is struggling with the overthinking negative thought mindset, pass this along to them.
In fact, if you could, please press the like if you haven't done so already. Like, follow, and subscribe buttons. Please do those
Yeah.
three things first. It doesn't cost you a thing.
No, but more importantly than that is share. Pass
And
this
share,
along. Pass
absolutely,
it
and
on to
share.
people who listen to it.
Every time, whether you think they're going to listen to it or not, just send it to them. The worst they're
Listen to
going
new podcasts all the time, and sometimes I'll listen to it right away, and other times it might be
to,
down the road, but
yeah, it might be done wrong.
eventually it's always beneficial to
Oh,
me.
I see stuff on our podcast that where it's a year ago people are listening to
Yeah,
today.
no, it's important.
So as we always say, take what you want, leave the rest.
Mhm.
But I'm sure there's some information that
Yeah,
you guys would
definitely
have.
some nuggets here.
Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to do this today.
Okay.
Kathy, we usually do the housekeeping a lot of times at the front because it kind of goes back and forth. So here's the deal. We're asking that you would do a couple of things. One, follow us on Instagram and Facebook,
And YouTube.
we're now on YouTube,
Mhm.
right? And I'm also starting to download everything on LinkedIn because I do have an account there, and I forget about that all the time. But I have a lot of people reaching out to me
Mhm.
now, so we're also on LinkedIn. So you can follow us on all four of those platforms. Our podcast is on Anchor or Spotify. You can follow us there as well, right? We want to remind you that we still have our no cost 60-minute discovery session.
Mhm. 1 hour.
1 hour. And it's not a coaching session. It's you get to know us, we get to know you, make sure we're a right fit. Because we're going to journey together, right? We want this to be a mutual respect for each other.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's a really important part of any recovery journey. If it's not with us, right, I want to suggest this that if you're seeking out a therapist, right, wherever you're at,
You have the
you
right.
have the right to sit down and interview them. They're going to be walking through you with your life.
Hmm.
Okay. So
And how do they reach out to get that information
from us,
for their discovery session?
for
Yeah.
discovery, that's a good point.
Yeah.
See, that's why I got you next
I
one.
know I'm
Yeah.
coaching them here.
All you have to do is go to Heal and Restore Counseling
.com.
.com and just go to the contact form and just fill out the contact form and say I'd like to schedule a
Discovery
discovery
session.
session, and we'll get right back to you. We usually get back to you within the day, unless it's late at night. We'll get back to you the next day
Yeah.
to talk to you about that and get that scheduled. Okay. The other thing that we want to remind you of is that until March 31st, we have discounted our 12 weeks, our 12-week heal program by 20%.
Yeah.
And so, but
20%, 20%
20%. Okay.
discount, but 100% of the services.
100% of the
Yeah.
service. Absolutely. We're not discounting that, right? Also, I want to remind you that we have our newest book,
Renewing bonds.
Renewing Bonds, 7 Easy Steps to Renew Your Relationships, right? It's on Amazon. Soon, those books, that and How to Heal and Restore Your Marriage, will be on Audible.
Yeah.
That'll be out there soon. But you can get a free copy of the PDF of How
Renewing
to
bonds.
Renewing Bonds by simply going to our website, or actually, you can even email us at Courageous Healer. I'm the wrong one. Sorry.
Would you like me to give that email address
Yeah,
out?
give that email address, will you?
The email address to email us is healandrestorecounseling@gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Or you can click on the link and ask for a PDF copy through our website.
That's right.
At
And once we
healandrestorecounseling.com.
get that email, if not immediately, there short after, we will send you
Yeah.
that PDF. Right?
Okay.
Am I missing anything?
No, I think you did good, honey.
Oh, by the way, all of our books, Healing the Wounded Child Within, the 30-day devotional, 7-day workshop, 7-day challenge, How to Heal and Restore Your Marriage,
Renewing bonds.
Renewing Bonds,
And the Healing the Wounded Child Within in
in
Spanish.
Spanish, right? And Hearts Reunited will be out by the summer, and my book, The Healing Path, will be out sometime probably in fall. All available on Amazon or on our website.
Yeah, so we've got a couple new books coming.
Yep.
More to be revealed.
More to be revealed. Right.
That's great.
Okay.
Good job, honey.
Is that all? Did I
That's
do
good.
okay on
Yeah,
that?
you're
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
You're
I didn't.
totally good.
I didn't go over
You
this.
can close it out
I
now.
can close it out now. What about when I start? You said
Oh,
earlier.
Lord.
Wait. You said earlier this whole thing would be about me today.
That was our practice run. That
Oh,
wasn't. Is that true?
no.
Is it
it's not
absolutely true?
No, it's not true. It's not about me anymore.
Sure.
All right. Remember this, everybody. Well, first of all, thank you for joining us
Yes,
on this
love
podcast. We love you guys. But remember this, if nobody tells you they love you today, Randy does.
Cathy does.
But more importantly, God does. Bless everybody. Have a marvelous week.
Be blessed.